is a very, very strong assist character, but sometimes can be a bit more now as seen as a bit of like a riskier kind of approach compared to what's been kind of used commonly against Sangria. But I'm very interested in seeing Cozmez's Hunter play Hermit here in the round one. Now, Hermit is one that's seen a lot as a character that you play when you really need a win. But the reason why he's not seen everywhere in tournament is that he's got almost the sort of same effect as like what Clerk or Dreamwitch has, where they're really good at like getting wins when they need it, but when you're looking for getting like just a tie or looking for something really secure, sometimes survivors are able to get counterplay, and with Hermit that comes a lot into the early game.
Absolutely, it is like Lolzy is going to go ahead and connect these ciphers, and like you said, Hermit is a very high risk, high reward kind of hunter. He does, though, this is a pretty good map for him, lots of buildings that he can use his orb to shoot straight through and catch the survivors off guard. Looks like he is going... Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Looks like he's just going to try and preemptively break that pallet, try to lock out the kiting area, but it does look like he has eyes on the mercenary, who is a semi-viable chase target for a Hermit.
Yeah, I think this is really interesting. We saw Lolzy, the hunter here, connect all the ciphers right away. Now, this is really quite of an interesting approach. I think the Hermit that I was studying was from Wolves playing in IVL. And he actually takes kind of this strategy of, you see how they were able to disperse that damage right there because of the charge, distributing the damage to the survivors. For that reason, Wolves' Hunters actually likes to take the approach of actually not connecting any of the ciphers in the early game until you get kind of the first down here. Ends up landing the secondary ability there, which will actually make the merc take 50% damage, and now it's going to be one more hit unless they're able to distribute more damage among the survivors. Anything else you'd like to add?
Looks like the only person who would be able to swap would be the acrobat, and I'm not sure if the damage share would be enough, but it does look like Merc is going to go ahead and rotate to the Priestess Global to see if he can just go ahead and buy some time for the team. They are already at 4 ciphers.
Yeah, and there was no charge on the mercenary, so that will down the mercenary. However, Priestess is right there on the other side to get that heal in time. Lolzy going to try to make their way over as quickly as possible. And a really nice thing was that mercenary didn't have a charge on them, so that damage didn't get dispersed. Now, of course, we all know Priestess does have a heal buff, which serves well to go for that kind of global portal effect, and ends up getting a hit on the acrobat. Once again, that damage gets dispersed to Priestess, and I believe that was just a Priestess there. And now we're going to see the Hermit changing targets again. Priestess is once again fully healing up the merc, and Priestess has max portal, so she's going to be quite a tough target here. We're going to see going for the secondary ability, missing the secondary ability, ending up having to use a full charge there in order to get that hit. And once again, the damage dispersed. Go ahead.
Yeah, due to the damage dispersed. The blink has also already been used, was used to get that hit on the acrobat. So it is unfortunate that the ciphers are coming along pretty heavily, but the hunter has not had a chair yet. So looking like this may be a pretty strong situation for the survivors.
Yeah, and we would expect a team like Ravens to have a really, really strong game against a Hermit. Hermit is one of those hunters that, like, if you don't have, like, the most, like, supreme of communication, you can be really quite difficult to go against because of the fact that the decoding does tend to be a bit slow against him. However, if you're able to distribute the damage properly, you can find a way to have a really, really nice kind of early game against him, which is what we're seeing. I mean, we have a lot of progress right here. Goes for a secondary ability. That's going to be a hit on the coordinator. Now, the thing is, coordinator is long from being down. She has a whole gun on her. But we also see a lot of damage distributed to the other survivors. So it'll be the responsibility of the other survivors to go ahead and try to regroup and heal. And we're going to see that the acrobat and the priestess are healing up each other. And yeah, that damage has been dispersed. Acrobat goes down. And now because they're grouped up, priestess can heal acrobat once again with that heal buff.
We are going to go ahead and see Lolzy change targets again. Even though he was in a pretty decent situation with the coordinator, he wasn't able to really bait out the gun, but it does look again like they are going to go ahead and use that long portal.
Once again, I wonder if this will have potential to pull out the trump card, because right now the hermit really needs to find it down as soon as possible. Because there's only so long that Lolzy will be able to play this sort of game of attrition that he's kind of started. Throwing a stun way out there, and they are group healing. Acrobat gets up just in time. Coord goes out with that hit by distributing the damage away from the merc. And yeah, we might actually see the acrobat get hit one more time here, and we'll see that does happen. But once again, acrobat is not downed. Priestess is there to support, which is why it's really risky to allow the other survivors to have a priestess in the game, because now look how much distance Pablo has made against this hunter. I mean, that's no longer a place.
And the ciphers are running along pretty well. Overshot that a little bit. Was not able to catch the priestess on the staircase. It does look like they have their final 3 ciphers that they can work on. Beautiful backhand.
Ends up using the portal trick.
Absolutely. Very good job from the priestess. Just kind of winning out that mind game against the hermit.
Excellent secondary ability. That's going to be another hit on the priestess, but of course, priestess is still up. About to get another charge on the portal. We're going to see switching target to their group healing session. I see misses the blink, and that's going to make the hermit eat the gun there from the coordinator.
Yeah, really unfortunate from the hermit. I think he's just trying to get as many resources down as possible, because if we look, the merc has expended all of his elbow pads. The acrobat has already used a bomb, and the coordinator is now out of a flare gun. We do see a missed gun from the coordinator, and another very good secondary skill to go ahead and just put a charge on that coordinator.
Once again, we see just the power. It's only a hermit game that you'll see a hunter get all the way to max presence and still kind of struggle to find a first down. They are all the way at 1 cipher remaining, which is actually quite incredible here, and ends up taking the tram. We may see a potential secondary ability to try to catch the coordinator on the other side of the tram. And of course, the stun doesn't actually latch onto coordinator through the tram.
And it does look like the final cipher is heading into the 90s. So this is looking to be a really, really great job from Ravens. Looks like they are going to be getting at least 1 man out, looking like potentially a 3 or a 4 man escape.
Yeah, and this is the potential risk of, running a character like Hermit in the round 1, is that if you're not able to find that early down, counterplay can sometimes be difficult, but great job on Lolzy actually being able to secure a first down here finally. And the acrobat, now unfortunately there are multiple ciphers that are quite close to being completed here, which should give the survivors plenty of time to prime that, kind of camp it out. Coordinator ends up getting picked up, and Mercenary is for the rescue. Now Mercenary does have half a football, and it's going to be, Hermit's going to try to stall this past half. And that will be past half. There's no pop.
Absolutely amazing job from the hermit turning this around with that terror shock. And the cipher was primed. The priestess had been sitting on the cipher for a while. Now
it's going to be up to Acrobat's going to try to pull this rescue. And everybody's up, but this is going to be a pop here, and Acrobat is still up. detention activates, which makes the damage distribution strategies a bit more difficult. But this match is long from over. Ends up missing a stun there, unfortunately. And we're going to see Pablo transitioning towards the dungeon area. There may be potential for a 4-man escape here. Not with a blink, though. Yep, and...
Unfortunately, the gates were not connected at Pop, so it did take just a few seconds for it to go ahead and get finished. We are going to see the Acrobat surrender, and that is a 3-man escape on the side of Ravens.
Yeah, so it was a great job on the Hermit to at least get the stop. The last thing you want as round 1 is a 4-survivor escape. I think the last match that I saw where there was a 4-survivor escape, I think I was watching IVJ. There was a team there that ended up running Dream Witch round 1 on Chinatown, which is another one of those. It's a risky thing where you play round 1, you play these kind of riskier hunters, but if you end up landing it, it's high reward. But if you kind of struggle to get that high reward kind of effect, it really can play against you. As we saw fantastic gameplay from Ravens there, and Cozmez is going to have to really pick it up on the survivor side. Now, it'll be interesting to see what Ravens decides to go, if they decide to kind of mirror a riskier kind of approach. Because it's really interesting watching competitive gameplay on this server. It's a bit different from other servers, where other servers go really like all in on the meta, but on NAU you have some teams, you think B4U especially is kind of the token the token team for this, where they'll go like really heavy all in on the meta, goes for some riskier plays, but as far as comp wise goes very much kind of a meta build. But as you look at different teams across NAU, there is really quite a large variety of kind of hunters that you can see here. So I'm really interested in seeing what Ravens will bring out as far as kind of a hunter goes, because now you're given option if you want to play like a TIE hunter. I mean, this is kind of your option, but of course you can't go wrong with a Sangria round 1.
Honestly, you really can't. She is the strongest hunter in the game at the moment, and she's doing a pretty good job in terms of just getting out as many survivors as possible in that round 1. But like you said, in NAU, there's a lot more variety. You'll see quite a few off-meta picks from both survivors and from hunters. We've seen some crazy things happen in tournaments. We'll see like Geisha round 1, but it's typically dominated by that Sangria.
Yeah, for sure. And let's see. So Cozmez is going to have to play also a bit more riskier on the survivor side. It'll be kind of interesting what we see as far as kind of a comp goes there. But I think the big difference we may see is what they decide to do on the hunter side. As far as Sangria goes, I mean, you also get a lot of flexibility of how you can play her. I've seen a lot of like really aggressive Sangrias. I was watching Wolves' Hunter this morning play Peepers with Sangria, which is a bit of a unique approach, but that was on Lakeside. But I think that was Wolves versus ACT ended up running that. But this is just going to be such an interesting thing to see how Ravens Hunter decides to play this, because I'm not sure if I've seen this Hunter before from Ravens, because I know I've watched this team in the past, so it will be certainly interesting to see what Ravens decides to run here.
Yeah, absolutely. Ravens is in a pretty good position. They can tie and then they'll take the round. But Cozmez is going to want to go ahead and try to 3 escape, or in a best case scenario for them 4 escape, to see if they can go ahead and take back some points that they lost.
Yeah. And I think as far as like the state of the game goes, Sangria is one of the main hunters that's like truly unbreakable now. There were hunters that used to be, you play them, you get like a solid tie every single time, but now it's becoming a point where Sangria is becoming one of the only like truly unbreakable hunters. I mean, you can make a case that that Night Watch has, and there have been players that have taken really aggressive approaches with Night Watch, but when survivors really need a win, one of the main hunters that survivors really struggle to get an actual like winning chances against is that Sangria. So I won't be surprised if we see that, but yeah, we'll have to see what the hunter decides to go here.
Yeah, I completely agree. With the Sangria, it's really awesome to see her because a Sangria game will go very, very quickly. A very strong Sangria can have her first out in like 90 seconds, and at that point, the ciphers are not nearly as long as they need to be, especially if she does end up bringing abnormal, which is something that we've been seeing quite a bit in the tournaments in the IVT, not IVT, IJL and IVL. We've seen both Blink
That's my personal build to go. Yeah, there's a lot of hunters that will run Blink on Sangria. I feel like Blink ties in a bit more of like a tie approach. Her early game is so strong that it's like not really that necessary, but it is something to do if you want to leave things like super secure. But I feel like abnormal leaves a lot of chances to get really ahead in the early game. But if you want some examples of like Blink Sangrias, I think SC, one of the top two Japan teams, Zeta and SC are kind of the two teams that are kind of dominating that league. SC's round one hunter does run Blink on that Sangria, so if you're interested in checking out
Burio is a phenomenal hunter with a really deep hunter pool, and then everyone knows that Mirai Khan has a really stable opera singer and a very strong naiad as well. It's always very interesting to see them play round one because they really are just going ahead and getting as many kills as possible in that first round. And the survivors also doing a fantastic job of just applying the pressure and keeping it going. The coordination on those teams is nothing to laugh at.
This is fun. You really know your stuff too. That's awesome. Oh, that's awesome. All right, cool. Yeah, and once again, this is going to be, I think we have some words in on, Priestess and Antiquarian have been banned, which I think are very, very strong bans. Last time I played in a tournament, I think that's what I ended up running to. Not really much to complain about there. Priestess is one of those hunters that, I mean, we saw in the last match, the amount of times Global Portal was used, I feel like that might be one of Priestess's main assets is that Global Portal. And a lot of times if you get kind of those tricks in the later game, I mean, you get some hunters that if they have low mobility, you end up forcing out trump card with that alone, which is quite a strong power to have in one survivor there. But we got, once again, Antiquarian is once again one of the top. We see a lot of these bans, kind of the more typical bans, and round one we see Priestess get banned, Antiquarian get banned, Seer's another common ban. Another ban that you could see is Mercenary if you have a bit more of a campy hunter. But the thing about a Mercenary ban is that First Officer, I would argue nowadays, is almost just as strong as Mercenary. So but once
taking
again,
a look, they are going to go ahead and lock in the Seer and the Lawyer. Honestly, really strong strat. Lawyer is a phenomenal survivor for the early rounds because of the way he can quickly build up that speed, especially if he's bringing something like 912, which is commonly brought to counter like an opera singer, because their goal is just to try and get as many survivors out as possible. They're not really shooting for the end game, so you'll see things like triple tide and flywheel, or triple tide and windows, and only one person with borrowed time, just trying to prolong the game as much as possible.
Yeah, that's been another interesting approach, is that you mentioned the 912 build, and that's been really popular lately, to have both the window boost and the flywheel. Now, not something that you're going to want to run in ranked, but it's certainly something that it can be really used. Now, that's for teams that really feel like, okay, we really want to like kite out this Sangria. we feel like we have a strategy that we can do that with. Yeah. And with early seer lawyer locks, I don't think we should see it as much of a surprise if they decide to go that, because you do really see either the no borrow time. You go for like the 9-12 builds on like 3 out of your 4 survivors. They end up locking the Gravekeeper here because of the merc ban. And once again, when you ban merc, you get either first officer, you see coordinator getting used, or you can see Gravekeeper.
They are going to go ahead and bring out the Toy Merchant, which is honestly really exciting to see because Toy Merchant provides not only support with the additional item that she carries in her toy box, but also with the catapults, you're able to create a lot of distance with a lot of hunters. You're able to hop up over those staircases where the hunter has to go up the traditional way, or even just leap over an entire kiting area, forcing the hunter to use a trait to catch up.
Yeah, I think in Toy Merchant, this is one of her stronger maps too, because there's one spot that you can really kind of mess the hunter up on. If you have, there's a placement that leads right up to the second story of Corner House. And you can have a similar setup, I believe, as well to the 2-story in middle. Anytime you can have, this is why I would argue Toy Merchant's strongest map is like Chinatown, because there's a lot of placements like that, especially around the balcony area. But there are some placements where all Toy Merchant has to do is place the trait in a certain area and then be like, hey, if you need an escape, this specific catapult is placed, and then they make their way over to that area, and suddenly what would have been a shorter chase just got prolonged by a trait that Merchant ended up leaving like right at the beginning of the game. And really, you get some crazy stuff when you have Merchant in a game.
Honestly, it's so much fun to see her because she provides so much additional mobility to her team in a way that's very passive. She can set up the catapult and then go decode as many ciphers as she pleases, but she's also nothing to snooze at in terms of her own kiting potential. With that catapult in a 2-story area, she could loop a building for the entire game.
Yeah. And let's see. Trying to think. Yeah. And it's that also that she has that.
We are going to go ahead.
She just flies away.
We are going to go ahead and see that opera singer being brought out. It does look like we are not going to see any 912. We are seeing flywheel on the seer. Broken windows on the lawyer, flywheel on the merchant, and then of course the gravekeeper on tide.
Did we get info on the build of the hunter?
No, we have not seen the hunter's build so far.
Okay. I won't be surprised. Kind of the most typical build that we'll see on a Sangria is the 3-6. Sangria almost always will carry detention, and then trump card is usually the more common pick here. But yeah,
so an incredibly confident Sangria can go ahead and bring in the confined space just to cut off even more kiting routes from the survivors, preventing them from really utilizing areas to their fullest.
And we see the survivors end up going the straight across placement, which pretty much locks the Sangria into going after Seer. Now, Seer is likely to kite towards the Dancing Geisha area, making sure to give Lawyer enough space. And the big difference will be, will the Sangria continue chasing the Seer, or will the Sangria maybe go off to the side and chase Lawyer for a while, because he does have some fast decoding on the side. The issue with chasing Lawyer is that he has Graveyard all to himself, and he can't kite into anybody else if he just kind of stays in that one area. But Sangria is very strong against tight kiting, which is what that area kind of focuses on. So it'll be kind of interesting to see this hunter's approach.
We are going to go ahead and see just a straight shot into the middle area. Looks like we may be going ahead and getting a hit on the Gravekeeper, or going to chase the Gravekeeper. And we will be going...
right. We got a hit on the grave.
Yeah, the thing is, with the Sangria, she's able to catch up so quickly that even if you force out as many attack recoveries as possible, absolutely stunning pallet stun from Ajax. Very good job. going to go ahead and just kind of continue the chase out, try to draw it out as long as possible, doing a phenomenal job at the pallet with no kiting ability, with no kiting trait.
Yeah, and so Gravekeeper is going to dig right here real quick, and suddenly the Sangria does have quite a strong early game here. Now, Sangria's chase ability has been, I will argue, kind of slightly nerfed since from kind of the server that like the China is going on, because they're playing on a patch that has like an unnerfed Sangria, and what was part of that nerf was that she gets kind of like locked in place a little bit at the start of each stun. We're seeing that abnormal build, as we kind of mentioned we might, but it slightly nerfs her chase a little bit, but as we see, she is still very, very strong, has a very, very strong chase. So we're going to see there is a rescue from the lawyer, and now the grave has no more items. So
and this is not a particularly strong area for the Gravekeeper. It is a little unfortunate. We are going to go ahead and see that Seer Owl, but it will only provide just a little bit of protection. And that Seer Owl is out, and we are going to go ahead and see the Gravekeeper go down. And the Lawyer Cipher was basically reset to 0, putting them honestly in a very good position from the Opera Singer.
Yeah, and this is a very, very dominant position for this kind of hunter to be in. I usually have kind of, when I watch competitive gameplay, when I see Sangria, I'm kind of noticing a pattern that whenever there's a Sangria playing, by the time of the pop, if there's like 3 survivors like standing up, I usually kind of see the Sangria able to get like 2 more eliminated by then. If there are 2 survivors up at the pop, of course, it's going to be like a 3 or a 4 survivor elimination. But even if there are 4 survivors up, there's some chances that a Sangria will even be able to pull that into a tie. So we
are going to go ahead and see that Gravekeeper sent back to the banner, as the Sangria did a phenomenal job with that hitbox control. Going to ahead, use Abnormal again, just push that Cypher even further back, stalling the game out as much as possible, whittling out as many resources from the survivor, kind of just putting them in a really rough position. Again, we've seen this is some amazing control from this opera singer. Absolutely stunning job going ahead and just putting as much pressure as she can on these survivors. And it looks like Urban is going to go ahead and start to come in for the rescue. Are we going to see a double rescue coming in for this lawyer? Because there is no tide available.
And ends up, all right, there's kind of our first instance of Sangria kind of missing her ability there, but it's no worries. Still gets 1 hit on the toy merchant. Lawyer gets rescued, and we might see a target swap here. I won't be surprised if the Sangria continues to go after Lawyer because of the fact that the Lawyer was dead on chair. And you really want to go for as precise gameplay as you can when you're kind of going in these competitions here. And ends up switching to the Seer, which is something that you can do. It's a bit more of a riskier kind of thing, but once again, the Sangria in the early game has kind of given themselves rights to these kind of flexible liberties, if you will.
Honestly, what we're seeing the Sangria do is make it so that the survivors, instead of decoding, they have to waste time resetting for the heal, which is why it does seem like she injured the Seer. She's going to go ahead and try and chase that toy merchant because the toy merchant has no catapults, and she is going to go ahead, and this is just not a great area to be kiting the Sangria in. And the toy merchant is going to go ahead and go down. She has exhausted her self-heal, but we are going to go ahead and see a chair, just putting as much pressure on these survivors as possible. And you see they are stuck healing so that one of them can potentially go in for the rescue, as opposed to using this time to decode.
Yeah, so that's where we're kind of seeing the effects of the Seer being damaged kind of kick in, is the fact that, oh, and we see once again that catapult is going to lead right to the second story. That was what I was kind of motioning towards. Kind of some of these early placements may come into effect.
Absolutely stunning owl from the Seer, which will allow him to get just a hair touch closer to the chair, but unfortunately not close enough to get in with no issue.
And we do see that trump card into teleport here. Gonna end up secondary ability right on back. And we are likely to see the seer get down here. Good job on these survivors, still sticking with it, trying to get some decoding in as well with the lawyer right there.
And it does look like the toy merchant is going to go ahead and be sent back to the manor as the seer just tries to utilize this 11 area to its fullest potential before trying to transition out potentially to those double pallets over in the middle area. But he is going to go ahead and take that hit and go down. And we are going to see the Sangria go ahead and swap targets, see if she can find that lawyer.
Of course, you know the Sangria is going to go for the 4 survivor elimination, because in tournament you do get 2 extra points. You go from 3-1 to a 5-0 as far as the point system goes when you end up getting a 4 survivor elimination. And in a competitive tournament setting, you want to go for these extra points as much as you can. We see Seer go ahead and pop the self-heal there. We may see an approach where, ooh, lawyer ends up dropping down there, potentially prematurely there. We may see it down here. Nice pallet drop just in time, and secondary ability and down. Lawyer does have self-heal, and we're going to see potentially a teleport quite soon. Goes into cooldown, slightly slows the roll, but once again, Seer is going to be well on his way to transitioning away. You just have to hope that your lawyer can pick up relatively soon and maybe try to get some decoding down. If you can get it to a pop, then you may have more chances for a 1 survivor escape. It would be excellent for Cozmez if they were able to get the stop here to avoid this from becoming such a large lead here.
Oh, we are going to go ahead and see the Seer flywheel just to get a little bit of distance, but it is again looking like this is going to be, oh, another absolutely amazing owl from the Seer. That makes it 3 owls this game. Honestly, really great job using that kiting. Phenomenal job doing getting as many owls as possible, but he is going to go ahead and go down with a terror shock, which now permits the Sangria to go ahead and slug out for the 4-man elimination.
And we do see the surrender. So congratulations to Ravens for a completely dominant display in round 1. Now that is going to be 8 points for Ravens and 1 point for Cozmez. Now, the thing that Cozmez needs to do looking forward is you really want to turn this around, but it's going to be really tough to come back from a 7-point deficit. So you really need to win both of the next 2 rounds if possible.
Absolutely. This does put them in a little bit of a tougher spot. But looking at the stats, we are seeing that Seer did go ahead and kite 154 seconds, while it looks like the rest of the team did remain under 90 seconds of containment time.
And now we will see eventually what the next map will be. And I believe it was Cozmez that gets to pick this map, yeah?
Let me double check.
I'm fairly sure that was the case because I think Ravens picked Eversleeping.
Which makes sense.
Because I think Cozmez banned Church. I know one of them banned Church.
It does make sense to ban Church. It is such a strong map for the opera singer because it's such a tight area. There's really nowhere for you to go when you're seeing that. Just kind of stuck between a rock and a shadow place.
Yeah, okay, yeah, Ravens do a map ban, Cozmez gets to pick. So it'll be interesting to see what Ravens decides to ban here. It'll also be interesting to see if Ravens even bothers with banning the hermit.
Yeah, it does look like
will. But
we do typically see that the round 1 hunter does get banned, but since that this is such a strong area, that the survivors had such a strong start, they may not see it fit to ban the hermit and may instead go for something more meta, perhaps banning that opera singer or even something like a dream witch. I'm not super sure who the hunter plays though.
All right, I want to see a Mad Eyes. Typical Mad Eyes mentality. Oh
Mad Eye
man.
matches are incredibly entertaining, especially on a map like Eversleeping. If you remember last COA, we did see RC Aka do a phenomenal job just decimating as Mad Eyes on Eversleeping. Really just kind of putting the fear of Burke into these people's hearts.
Did you end up seeing the matchup? There was a matchup in IVL. It was like yesterday. It was Dow 5. It was Dow 5 versus MRC, and Dow 5's Hunter decided to do Mad Eyes round 2.
Oh, how'd that work out for them? Was it fun?
Oh, it didn't work out, but it was really fun to watch. I love watching Mad Eyes gameplay. It's so fun to watch. It's fun to commentate. Oh, I love Mad Eyes so much. This is something I do every time I commentate. I have to tie in one conversation to Mad Eyes, I swear.
Well, honestly, he's a lot of fun. I personally can't play him all that well, but he's a lot of fun to see, especially a very strong Mad Eyes. It's very easily able to click and drag, and honestly, it looks pretty instantaneous.
Everyone in the chat talking about Mad Eyes. While in my stream, we call him Chat Eyes. I love playing him so much. He's so fun. I hope to see more tournament gameplay of him in the future, but I remember you said that we may actually see like a Dream Witch ban, which I think is also really strong. Dream Witch is one of those hunters that does have a bit more of that, what I kind of like to call glass cannon effect, where they go really hard for the 4K, but under the wrong conditions, sometimes can get kind of stomped on by survivors. So it all kind of depends. And it looks like Chinatown will be the pick here.
Hunters that are really good on Chinatown are, we've seen really strong Night Watch gameplay on Chinatown. We've seen Miricon do some fantastic Naiad gameplay on Chinatown, able to 4-kill Scars during the summer IJL. Really phenomenal job just from the variety of different hunters you can play on this map. We've seen really strong geishas on this map. We've even seen a few years ago, we saw an Undead being played in Autumn IJL. Really entertaining to see.
Yeah, and this was the map where that Dream Witch I was talking about. It was in IJL. I forget which team it was, but decided to go Dream Witch on this map, and it didn't end up working out super well. But Dream Witch is very viable on this map, especially if you decide to go Patroller Dream Witch. It works out quite well. But also, it's kind of Chinatown's. I see a lot of Chinatown players run wheel on this map. There's a lot of like really open space, which leads really well into having, which kind of goes very well to wheel's ability.
Absolutely. We haven't seen a lot of wheel gameplay recently, just because with the implementation of Flywheel, it did go ahead and kind of just knock him back down into the lower rungs of the Hunter meta. Yes, it was Axis Riaz who played on
Yes, that was the team. Oh, thank you for that. Yeah, I was like, shoot, which team played her? Which team played her? Yeah, I remember that game specifically.
Well, we do love to watch Axis Wave gameplay. They've got a really fun team.
Yeah.
It does look like they're just having a good time every time they play, which is always fun to see.
That team is really fun to watch, because sometimes they'll do like the Dream Witch round 1. They really like to kind of shake things up whenever they can. Don't really go like the standard meta all the time, which I think is really fun to commentate. So we do see Seer and Merchant locks. They do ban the opera singer. Wait, never mind. That was Seer Merchant ban. Okay, my bad. Merc Lawyer is the lock. And yeah, so I think it totally makes sense for Ravens to ban the opera singer. And if they end up going Hermit again, Ravens are like, yeah, we can go ahead and we can go
Take
ahead
care of
and
this, no issue.
take care of it. Yeah, no problem.
We are going to see an
Ento
Ento pick. Ento's really fun on this map. There are a lot of tight areas that kind of prevent the hunter from getting around the bees, especially in an area like Hotel. And Ento can assist a loop that can go on for the entire game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah. Merc, strong pick. Lawyer is a strong pick. We end up seeing, yeah, Ravens ended up using, I think it was, they used both Merc and Lawyer during the first round of this game, right? Yeah, and then they just locked Patient. Patient is very, very strong on this map. Just getting some more transitional characters in here. We got the Merc and the Patient, which both fare quite well against...
We are going to go ahead and see a Dancer ban. Looks like Woolsey is just trying to lock out as much support as possible, trying to prevent both passive and active support with the blocking of that entomologist and that female dancer. It does look like they are going to go ahead and take psychologist to go along with the Patient. They may be able to end up duo kiting using that boost to catch up and maybe get out of the hunter's ability.
Yep, and we see psychologist as the last lock. Okay, and it'll be interesting to see whether, I think right now it really does call for Cozmez's hunter to try to give it another go with Hermit. I mean, Lawsy really needs to get a win here, and I mean, Hermit is one of those hunters where if you do get a stronger early game, and now there's no priestess on the table. Never got banned, but was also never locked either, which I think is really interesting for a map like Chinatown.
No, priestess is global banned. She was first locked in round 1.
Oh. I forgot that was a thing.
Yeah, we are going to see that the global ban has it, so the first 2 survivors locked in any round are off the table, no longer able to be picked, which allows survivors like Priestess and Seer to be able to be brought in, if only they'll be locked off for the rest of the matchup.
Gotcha. Oh, thank you for that. Oh, man.
Yeah, it does look like the hunter is just going to try and decide who to bring. It would be really interesting to see something like a Naiad on this map, or even something like a Night Watch who's pretty stably able to tie on a map like this. We are going to see that wheel you mentioned, though, earlier. Lots of fun to see wheel gameplay. Can't play him to save my life. He makes me too nauseous.
Oh, yeah. And let me see. Yeah, we'll see. It'll be most likely to be there. I'm trying to think of, for sure, Wheel is going to go kind of a left insolence build. We may see left down. That may be a potential build here. Quite common for a Wheel to kind of go something like that. Once again, the whole purpose of running insolence is that even if you're only able to get 1 spike during the kind of early game, you're able to get 1 hit, get them to a chip shot, and by the time you end up getting another, you roll over the survivor another time, you can just go ahead and use your little Thanos snap ability. And it looks like kind of an interesting spawn setup we have here. Kind of may potentially leave Lawyer a little bit exposed in the open. But Lawyer does get kind of that restaurant area, so...
He does have the China shop and the restaurant area to work with, both of which have a pretty strong window against that wheel.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, the thing that Lawyer's got there are those 2 windows.
But overall, looks like we are gearing up to go ahead and see some fun gameplay. Wheel is another one of those hunters that's really able to just snowball it out.
Yeah. Once again, can also be a little bit more of like a riskier approach as well. Kind of a similar way to Hermit. I think we're getting a little insight into the style of this hunter, which is actually really fun. I love hunters that play this way. And we're going to see, once again, Wheel here. I think it pretty much goes without saying that the hunter should chase lawyer here objectively, and it'll be up to... Okay, ends up going after the merc here, which I think is quite interesting. Finding a survivor right away in the middle.
It does look like an interesting choice from Woolsey, considering he's going to go ahead and change targets, just kind of push that merc off of the cipher to chase that lawyer, who would be his easiest chase, I would feel, out of this team, unlike the psychologist, who's a 3-hit down and is in a very strong kiting area.
Now, I think it may be quite likely that we'll see Lalzi... Oh, ends up getting a second... Wow, that is a fantastic, such an early down there. Ends up getting a second spike and actually being able to hit the lawyer before he was able to successfully get all the way through. And there's basement in the area, so we'll see if Lalzi opts to go for that. And
yeah, we are going to go ahead and see that basement, which puts Ravens in a stronger area. I mean, into a harder area, forcing them to come all the way down to basement to put that rescue. But it does look like the mercenary is already in the area giving tinnitus, hopping into wheel form to go ahead and see if he can get that double spike on the mercenary, which allows just for a little bit of an easier endgame.
Yeah, and it would have been interesting to see if Lalzi wanted to go for like a snap there, just to try to get a hit on mercenary, but ends up opting to just go right for the hit on the lawyer, which will allow the mercenary to kind of settle in basement and just get those 2 spikes off of himself. And we see that
is a pretty common strat that you will see survivor teams do, is they'll have the rescuer stay in basement just to make the hunter decide, am I going to make sure to down this rescue to try and get a double down and allow the person that was shared to escape, or are we going to just focus on the person who I was shared before, just try to end, but unfortunately giving up that double down.
Yeah, and now lawyer gets 1 spike on him, not quite to max presence, so that ability won't be activated yet. And ends up, these stairs are kind of blocked off. Yeah, that lawyer did not have options to get away.
Unfortunately, the wheel did have a well-placed trap in the bottom of the staircase, and standing at the top of the staircase just kind of put the lawyer in between a rock and a hard place. But we are going to see our first elimination at 4 ciphers. Very good job from Woolsey's, keeping up a good pace, preventing that kind of... giving them a little bit of payback from last game.
Now, it does say 4 ciphers remaining, but 2 of the ciphers are like basically primed. So, it may give Lalzi a bit of false sense of security having an elimination already at 4 ciphers remaining, but 2 of those ciphers are like almost completely done. So it'll be really interesting to see these survivors kind of sweep by, pick these ciphers up.
I mean, but if we take a look,
early second down though.
Yeah, if we do take a look, it looks like the psychologist is going to be chaired on one of those prime ciphers, which kind of prevents it from being worked on, kind of acting almost like in quote-unquote abnormal, just preventing it from being decoded.
And we're going to see Pablo is in the area, the patient, which will more than likely be that rescue there, but they don't have any more tides on the team, so... Which actually may work quite well because of the fact that...
Ooh, but with the psychologist stress, they don't really need Tide Turner because she is able to go ahead and just kind of eat that extra hit.
And it was actually a really good thing that psychologist was able to body block. That's why I was like, oh no, because I thought that patient may have had a shot of getting like a 1-hit down here, but now Pablo will just be able to de-spike there. And it would have served Lalzi quite well if they ended up being able to actually successfully get that hit on Pablo there. We're going to see a target swap right here, right onto the Merc. Merc picks up that cipher that was really close to being completed already.
Oh, absolutely great job pushing them into the end game with that cipher pop. Unfortunately, Lalzi did go ahead and just try to overextend a little bit, causing them to put the cipher up, but the psychologist was not able to last out. We are going to see her go ahead and go on chair, and we're rolling right into the end game, but the gate has already started working on. We are going to see that open in just a few. The gate itself is looking to be around the halfway mark.
And they end up getting like a near instant rescue there, which will put some pressure on Lalzi as the psychologist maybe successfully hides in restaurant here. Oh, Lalzi thinks they might have gone to two-story, which was kind of the incorrect approach here. That gate is...
Oh, and the gate is open, and unfortunately it does look like the psychologist is on top of dungeon, leading for another 3-man escape on the side of Ravens.
Yeah, that becomes kind of a difficult thing. If Lalzi ended up overextending in the endgame there and ended up losing the psychologist, that's one of those things where, like, okay, you have detention, you also have tinnitus. Would it be best to go out for some more in wheel form, or would it be best to try and secure more? But the thing is, camping with detention, you do have some value there that you could have had maybe some potential different form of counterplay. Maybe if you found the mercenary a little bit earlier, lots of different things. So Cozmez really needs to win this next match in order to keep this match alive, because if they don't end up getting at least a tie here, then it's going to be lights out, game over for Cozmez. So, but of course, if you're playing Hunter for Ravens, you're feeling quite secure here. You may decide to play a bit more of a tie Hunter. We may see, I don't think that it will be unlikely that we may actually see like a geisha pick here, maybe something like Blood Queen. What kind of one of the more trendier hunters nowadays to kind of procure a tie here. And yeah, so we don't have any of the bans or picks yet, I don't believe.
We are going to go ahead and see that Ravens their win condition is a tie, so they could play something, like you said, a Bloody Queen, a Geisha, or even something like a Naiad or a Night Watch would be fun to see.
Yeah, Naiad, Night Watch. Night Watch is one of those hunters that is actually quite solid for a tie when you play him like a tie, which is really quite interesting. I think it'll go without saying that we're not going to see Opera Singer. That's going to be banned for sure.
We do have to keep in mind during the ban pick that Seer and Lawyer are off of the table. However, we are going to see a Priestess anti-ban, just kind of trying to lock out the harassment potential, as well as that kiting and assist potential with that Priestess on such a strong map like Chinatown.
For sure. And yeah, Seer and Lawyer have been banned. And the Hunter decides to ban Priestess and Antiquarian as well. The same bans as in the first round, which I think are very strong bans on this map. And we'll see 2 locks momentarily. So I think... I don't think it should be too much to say that we probably will see a Toy Merchant here. Toy Merchant is kind of a staple of Chinatown. With kind of the notorious one being one of the 2 stories you can get a catapult up into the balcony, which can really be a damper on kind of a hunter's chase here, especially if they don't end up taking it out. But I think it will make sense if we see kind of a mercenary or a first officer kind of locked here as well.
They may want to go for a beefier roster for something like the mercenary or the first officer, or even something like a gravekeeper, just to try and soak up as many hits as possible to try and prolong the game, to allow them to go ahead and get that 3-man escape, which is what Cozmez is looking for.
For sure. I think we're gonna see the 2 locks momentarily. Yeah, Opera Singer's banned, so...
Yep, makes sense.
A lot of sense, yeah.
Even if the hunter didn't play Opera round 1, it is very common to see an Opera Singer banned, especially if they do something like swap out to a different hunter round 2, because you may not know their roster as well. But banning out that Opera just kind of eliminating that instant 4-kill potential.
And it looks like... Ooh.
We are going to see a cheerleader pick as well as a mercenary pick, which is interesting to see. We haven't really seen a lot of cheerleader in the more professional tournament area, but she will be allowed, I believe, during IJL playoffs, which is really fun to see like how she shakes up the meta for them.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it'll be interesting to see what a lot of Survivor teams do using that kind of speed boost. But in addition, one thing that is kind of slept upon is the ability of the cheerleader to cheer survivors on to give them an extra chance if they get downed. I think that's kind of something that's a bit underrated that hasn't really been fully explored, especially not at a competitive level while she's still been banned. So it'll be kind of interesting to see some new gameplay with this, and especially because these survivors really need to win. I think it makes sense to kind of go something a little bit more kind of on the riskier but really high reward side. So we're seeing that mechanic, which is a survivor that's able to get a lot of decoding in. May not be quite as secure as lawyer, but if you aren't able to find a mech or down them quickly, you can really get a lot of decoding in really fast. She's kind of a bit more of like an older meta pick, but still a strong character to go if you really, really need a win. So, but yeah, very, very interesting.
We are going to go ahead and see a psychologist ban. Looks like the hunter may have picked up on the idea that we don't want strong survivors who are a 3-hit down in the roster. So instead we'll go for something, block out stuff like the psychologist. Any survivors that can tank multiple hits would not be well for them.
Yeah, and I think that makes sense, especially if you plan on going... The two main hunters that I think about here are Bloody Queen and Geisha, because those are ones that, I mean, their abilities are kind of like single hit kind of ideas. So whenever you're able to eliminate, well, Seer was global ban, but yeah, Seer, Psychologist, some
Mercenary.
other... Yeah, Mercenary. Barmaid's another example. Okay, yeah, and they just banned the barmaid. Gotcha. Yeah, that's...
So maybe with the barmaid ban, we may be seeing something like a hermit.
I think that would be interesting for sure.
Hermit or even a Dream Witch, we've seen, as she counters both of those hunters very well.
The thing about that is there's a bit of counterplay against those hunters, whereas counterplay against Geisha or Bloody Queen, it's not as easy to really get kind of like a survivor kind of snowball effect going on. So I think it'll make sense. I really feel like we're going to see a BQ here, but I'm really interested to see what the hunter decides to go here.
We are going to see that Cozmez will go ahead and lock Little Girl as their last survivor choice, which is really interesting to see.
Yeah, Little Girl is one of those ones where I think there are two segments where Little Girl is really interesting. The early game with her ability, if she wants to just completely leave a given spawn and join another survivor there. It can lead, if a Little Girl ends up being kind of by a spawn and the hunter wants to chase her, she can really make it difficult for her to be chased by just literally just noping her way out of an area, just teleport away, be like, what are you going to do about it? I'm nowhere to be found. But also in the late game, especially around the time of where she needs kind of a pop, being able to leech onto another survivor and then unleash at a given time in order to get a strategic body block in place can be a very influential ability.
Yeah, absolutely. We are going to go ahead and see just a really interesting play with the Hermit. I really hope we see something. We are going to see a Dream Witch. Called it.
Yeah, good job. Oh, that was good.
I love Dream Witch gameplay. It's really fun to see with the way that she's able to apply so much different pressure. I love watching Dream Witch gameplay. It's really fun to see. One of my favorite hunters to watch, Silk, has a phenomenal Dream Witch, absolutely stunning to watch at any given point in time.
As a Mad Eyes Dream Witch main, I do love seeing some good Dream Witch gameplay. I find that she's a bit tough to play on this map, but once again, she can be played on this map. I just think it's like relatively difficult, but I think that this will make for certainly some interesting gameplay here. I think it'll make sense for the Dream Witch to try to chase either Acrobat or Cheerleader here. I think both will be just fine. I think Dream Witch does have pretty good game against Cheerleader's kind of speed ability because of the fact that she is able to have her Patroller in place. I think that's kind of the main counterplay for Dream Witch to have against Cheerleader. So yeah, it'll be really interesting to see.
It is interesting to note, though, that little girl can almost kind of counter a Dream Witch by keeping the leeches on the move, with her ability to teleport if there's no heartbeat. But we are going to go ahead and see the game start. We are going to see a move straight for the Acrobat.
Yeah, the Acro, a little bit late to the memo, gets spotted right away, and yeah, ends up getting kind of sandwiched a little bit here. And
all of the Acrobat is really, or any first kite against the Dream Witch, is to kind of take as many leech hits as possible. Try to avoid a spawn hit if you can. But it does look like this is not a great situation for the Acrobat taking that leech hit. But it looks like the little girl is coming in to provide some additional support. Just pushing them closer and closer to Hotel, which is just a strong kiting area in general.
I think, given the conditions that they have to win, I think it makes sense for them to go for a bit more of like a riskier play like this. If it was kind of under ordinary conditions, it would be quite unorthodox for the little girl to be leeched on so early because you do sacrifice a lot of decoding. But I think because of the fact that you really want to get this, yeah, and once again you see there's that kind of body block, which you usually kind of see in the late game, but can't see right now as well. And Cheerleader does give a cheer away to the Acrobat.
Yep, but unfortunately with the Patroller, it is just going to go ahead and allow for a pretty fast down in terms of the Dream Witch. The ciphers are coming along. We are looking at about to be into the 3 cipher remaining. 1 cipher is almost done. I believe that's the Mercenary cipher.
Yeah, the issue now with the little girl, though, is that, yeah, you might have been able to get 2 ciphers about completed by the time that this was down, but you're once again going to be fishing for another extra cipher that you have to go for here that would have otherwise maybe have been completed. So
we are going to go ahead and see the Patroller being brought out pretty early, just to kind of both allow an early hit from the Hunter, but also just kind of draw it out as long as possible with that hit. It does look like the Dream Witch is pushing for either a double down or an after half rescue, and she's going to go ahead and see that double down pretty soon. Swap to Blink. Absolutely amazing Blink from the Dream Witch, pushing them into a double down scenario. A little unfortunate, but they are going to be going down in about 5 seconds.
Yeah, that Blink was very clean there. Such a clean swap there. And I think the spawn may be potentially searching out for the Mercenary, which the Dream Witch may find in this area, so long as the Dream Witch doesn't think that he's up on the 2-story. Ends up finding the Mercenary here. Yeah, this is where Dream Witch becomes really scary, is if she's able to kind of split her tasks a little bit.
Just putting as much pressure as she can on these survivors. Having them shared pretty close to each other does not really allow for much ability to come in and sneak like a backdoor rescue.
Yeah, and it'll be kind of interesting to see. Little girl does go for that rescue. Wants to camp out the 2-story.
Oh, very
Whoa, that
narrowly
doesn't hit.
avoiding that terror shock. Very good job. Thankfully, the little girl's speed boost was a lot of help. But if you saw, the Dream Witch did place that leech on the staircase, preventing them from being able to use hospital for fear of another double down.
For sure. And we're probably going to see, spawn, out of radius.
Hopping
Bit of
onto the
aggressive.
Cypher, interesting choice instead of choosing to maybe heal up or potentially transition into a stronger kiting area. We are going to see Urban go ahead and use that speed boost to go ahead and just kind of avoid as much time as possible. But we are going to see a hit regardless of the cooldown reset and the speed boost. Quite tragic for the cheerleader.
Yeah, and now they're deciding to heal, but is the healing too late? Looks like they get it just in time. And almost has to eat another hit here. Now, the thing is, the survivor's condition to extend this into another round is to keep everybody alive, which is quite a formidable condition, given that the acrobat was eliminated so early.
Yeah, we are seeing this mercenary just kind of trying to use as many elbow pads as possible to kind of get out, but is going to go ahead and take a hit through that pallet. But it was a leech hit, which does allow them just a little bit more leeway. But they are all grouped together in the same area, which puts them in a bit of a rough spot.
Mm-hmm. And... Miss Blink almost secured it with the blink.
Oh, very good dash from the little girl, from the cheerleader, allowing her to avoid that drop-down hit from the Dream Witch. But she's just going to go ahead and pressure out this Cypher, unfortunately not really giving them time to heal or reset in any way.
We're seeing that they're kind of leeched on here. It's going to be all about what the merc can maybe do in this situation, because the other two survivors are both busy kiting. This is the thing that's so difficult about having little girl leech like perpetually, is that you get kind of stuck in a lot of these situations where you just get a little bit behind on decoding, and we see
a bit unfortunate. A very good job from the Dream Witch, able to injure the little girl as soon as a swap in. Really quick hit. And just allowing them to really not give them a moment to breathe. It does look, though, like the mercenary... Oh, the little girl, though, teleporting! And the mercenary unable to use the euphoria he pulled.
Ends up using it right at the end, and I think this may be just about the end of the match. You can see one last sandwich attempt. There we go.
We are looking at a 4 elimination on the side of Ravens, going ahead and giving them the game. Very amazing job from the Hunter, as well as the survivors for putting up such a valiant effort against this Hunter. We are able to see really the power of the Dream Witch in a comp like this.
Yeah, and once again, as you said, this is the potential of Dream Witch. When we say that she either will get stomped out by survivors or she will absolutely stomp on survivors, this is a bit more of that latter end. I mean, we saw just such convincing gameplay here. It's going to be enough to give Ravens their win. So GG's to both teams. We saw excellent gameplay on both sides, and we'll get on to the next match, question mark?
I don't believe there's another matchup scheduled for tonight, but it was a really, really good game to see. Phenomenal job from both the survivors and the hunters. Really able to see kind of the way that the meta has shifted a little bit, especially if you compare it to older Koas, especially because Koa's coming around the corner. We are looking at the start of Call of the Abyss season next season, which is going to be fun to see.
Yeah. Man, I'm hoping for to see a matchup between OM and B4U. That would be something that would be really fun to see. Oh, man.
But overall, really good game, really strong games from everybody, putting their best effort forward. Absolutely great job. Good game to both Cozmez and to Ravens. Phenomenal gameplay to see tonight.
Yeah, and with that, I think I got confirmation that was the last match for the day. So we will see you all. There will be more matches tomorrow, yeah?
Yes, we are really excited to see tomorrow, I believe, is Halcyon versus GWS.
Oh, yeah, okay, that'll be cool.
Yeah, really excited to see that gameplay. But honestly, guys, thank you so much for watching. It was so much fun being able to commentate. Thank you again for Music Man for helping us out.
Yeah, no problem. I will see you guys around.